What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and let's talk about an exciting piece of news for Cats fans, maybe Melbourne fans, and a little less so if you're a fan of the West Coast Eagles. The news has broken across the last 24 hours that Jake Waterman is potentially weighing up offers from the Geelong and Melbourne football clubs. And I want to kind of talk with obviously a bit of a Geelong bias and focus today upon what he could provide for the Cats in the event that he becomes one at the end of season 2024. Let's first, though, begin by picking through the news as we know it. Now, this is one of the Fox Sports articles that compiles a whole bunch of different things that have been going on at the moment. Very much a news boiler style piece. So we've got Vic Rivals ready to raid for breakout Eagle. Now, of course, there's been a few different players from the West Coast Eagles that have been mentioned in recent days and weeks. Another one is obviously Tom Barrass and Sam Mitchell apparently flying out to WA to have a bit of a chat to him. It seems like he's probably on the way out for the Eagles. And now, I mean, he's obviously a key and important defender for them. And now potentially one of their breakout forwards of the season in Jake Waterman is potentially out the door as well. So the article reads, West Coast will have to fend off interest from Victorian clubs, including Geelong and Melbourne, to keep breakout star forward Jake Waterman. Waterman is contracted until the end of 2025, signing a deal when his value was much lower than it is now. He's reportedly on $400,000 to $450,000 a year on a contract that takes him through to free agency. But the West reports that the Cats and Demons are both ramping up their interest in Waterman, perhaps making a move in this pre-agent year before he is freely available in 2025. Strategic, of course, from both clubs, and very well considered. Both clubs will reportedly put long-term deals on the table, the Cats seeking to replace Tom Hawkins, who is likely to retire, and the Demons desperate to bolster their underwhelming forward line. Waterman is said to be seeking a 4 to 5 year contract. He's kicked 44 goals in 16 games this season, level with Carlton's Harry Mackay to sit equal fourth in the Coleman medal race. Now, could we picture Jake Waterman in the blue and white hoops? Absolutely. And I think one of the key things, I guess one of the key pieces of rationale for the Cats is, of course, what is highlighted in the article here, where they talk about the Cats looking to replace Tom Hawkins. The time is coming and we're getting close, whether it ends up being this season or not. Regardless of our thoughts, it is getting quite close now at this point for Tom Hawkins and his retirement. And, they have to start considering what comes next. The thing that I find fascinating about this, before I kind of envisage what it would look like if he were to be a Cat, is this discussion as to whether we need him or not. We obviously have Jeremy Cameron, who in full flight, and he's kind of had some off weeks, he's had some ups and downs and those sorts of things of late. But in full flight, I think inarguably is the best key forward in the competition. He's electric around the ground. He can accumulate a lot of the ball. He can kick big bags of goals, and he can completely pull a game away from a team who's playing better than the Cats on any given night. You've also got Shannon Neal, who's coming through and has been doing a pretty solid job. I've been really impressed by what Shannon Neal has provided for the Cats so far as a young and upcoming forward. So to then go and add Jake Waterman on top, well, someone's potentially still got to fall out. I know we're talking here about replacing Tom Hawkins, but right now, Shannon Neal is replacing Tom Hawkins and presumably will continue to do so going into the future. So I'm curious, I guess, as to the Fox Sports rationale here, Geelong's rationale, if that is in fact what they are looking to do to replace Tom Hawkins. You're like, okay, well, Shannon Neal is doing that. So what's the plan for Shannon Neal? And I'm not saying that we're trading him or anything like that. I don't think the club is considering that in the slightest. But at the same time, if Jake Waterman comes in, does Shannon Neal go, oh, all right, I'm out? I wouldn't necessarily blame him if that's the case, unless the club has put forward a really coherent plan for what that forward line would look like in the event that Jake Waterman joins it. Because right now, I think, and we've had some games where we've seen Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins, and Shannon Neal play together. And obviously, look, Tom's been a little bit out of sorts at different points this year, and that's probably compounded things. But I think getting that dynamic right has been a bit of a challenge. They could also be looking at the three key forward, key forward kind of forward lines, similar to what we're seeing with the Dogs, which ultimately cut us to ribbons in recent weeks, where they had Sam Darcy, they had Jamari Ugle-Hagan, and of course Aaron Norton. And there was nothing Geelong could do about it. And I don't think there's many defensive lines at any club in the competition that can handle three high-class tall forwards, let alone someone like a Shannon Neal, for example, who's got some serious height on him, like Ruckman-style height. So maybe that's part of the thinking as well. That maybe they're finding a little bit of inspo from what the Dogs are doing and what the Dogs did to us with that forward line, and going, okay, well, maybe we can create that ourselves with 3 really dynamic forwards. And so if that's the rationale, then I kind of get it. And I wonder, and maybe with Hawk coming back in the next couple of weeks or being available for selection in the next couple of weeks, I wonder if that's the tack that they're going to take going into the finals as well, because the Dogs certainly, I mean, look, Geelong made some selection decisions that were poor going into that game, but it might have been a bit of a different story that particular night if we had the full complement of tall forwards available. If we had Tom Hawkins, Shannon Neal, and Jeremy Cameron all playing in the forward line, supported by the cast of Ollie Henry and Gary Rowan and Tyson Stengel, Brian Myers, Brad Close, etc., etc. I wonder what that would have done for the Dogs lineup, because they don't, similar to what I said about most clubs in the comp, they don't have that many tall key defenders that can deal with that much height. And so maybe they would have flipped some magnets around. Maybe one of their forwards would have had to come out, leveling the contest significantly. And you can extrapolate this for every other team in the competition, were they to be facing a Geelong team in the future that has Jeremy Cameron, Jake Waterman, and Shannon Neal in it. My hope is that maybe that's what they're thinking. And so I guess that's where I kind of see things coming together if he were to join the Cats. The other half of the scenario, of course, is the Melbourne Football Club, who's putting together a pitch as well. And of course, as the article talks about, the D's forward line is pretty flat. What their salary cap allows them to do, though, is a whole other thing. They obviously have some pretty premium players on the list that are costing them a fair bag, whether it's Christian Petrarca, Max Gawn, whether it's Clayton Oliver, etc., Stephen May, Jake Lever. They've got some really top-end, well-paid talent there. And are they in a position to offer Jake Waterman what's likely to be double what his current pay packet is? Maybe as a minimum. If this forward line pitch is kind of what his future is going to become. You think about the D's forward line, and we're talking about Jacob Van Rooyen, who's got buckets of talent and is going to be, I think, a long-term key forward prospect for them, and is developing into one very, very nicely. But he doesn't have any support beyond that. Ben Brown is not the player that he was, and then it's a bit of a mosquito fleet around him from there. Obviously, Bailey Fritsch does an awesome job. Cozzy Pickett does a great job. But in terms of key forward stocks, they're kind of light on right now, and Jake Waterman would absolutely fulfill a need. So Geelong has to contend with an offer from a team who's going to be presumably far more desperate than Geelong. So then it's about the pitch. What can you offer? Well, I genuinely think, and I think most people are seeing it right now, that the D's are kind of sliding off the cliff a little bit at the moment. And part of that is injury, part of that is form, part of that is a whole range of different circumstances on field and off. The Geelong Football Club is still buzzing around the top half of the ladder. We're still lingering around fourth right now. We're making a play for fourth on the ladder by the end of this season. And, from there, who knows? In probably the most even season we've seen in decades, the Geelong Footy Club has a chance. Melbourne probably doesn't at this point. And so that's part of the pitch that you're making. It's won players over in the past, and it's likely to do so again in the future if we can hold that. So my hope is that Jake Waterman does, in fact, become a Cat. Sorry to Eagles fans. I think when it comes to what that does to the Eagles forward line stocks, what it does to their team, especially if you factor that they're going to lose Tom Barrass as well, this is a team that's on its knees already. And I don't see that getting any better if they lose both of these two players. In fact, that's a very, very lowly spot for them to be in. And I feel a bit sympathetic for Eagles fans and the Eagles whole football department in the event that they lose both of these players. Even one of them is a devastating loss, but to lose two would be awful for them. But of course, football's a business. The mechanisms are in place that allow for free agency, for trades, those sort of things. And if we're going for him as a pre-agent, then that means that a trade's got to be put forward. And the Eagles, especially if they're dealing with the Cats after the Tim Kelly thing, have every right to charge a premium on their key forward. And I hope that they do, and I hope that Geelong is willing to pay the price, because he's proven to be a pretty incredible forward. A lot of people were calling him Wayne Carey early in the season. He earned that based on his form at the time. Anyway, Cats fans, let me know what you think. How does this fit in the puzzle alongside Bailey Smith, who is obviously being touted as a future Cat as well? Can the Cats make all of these things work? Can we pay the price? Can we find the picks? Can we do what's required to pull both of these sorts of players into the Geelong Football Club? It's going to be tough, but I hope that they can pull it off. Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know on social media at The Hoops Crew. Let me know what you think at Paul James Games. Check out our Patreon where you can get 1 week of exclusive access. If you're not already a patron, 1 week of exclusive access to all of the stuff that we have there to kind of try before you buy. And then for the cost of 1 coffee for the month, for an entire month, like $5, $6. You can join the Patreon and continue to enjoy that exclusive and early access content. Until next time, Cats fans, hopefully Jake Waterman's the cat. Let's watch this space closely. A bit like the Patrick Dangerfield story of all those years ago, we play them in the final home and away game for the season in Geelong. Maybe the Cats fans will start applauding him just like we did Danger. Let me know what you think anyway. Thanks a lot for watching. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.